Zephyr stands alone on a battlefield, already stripped bare of hope. The sky hangs heavy above him, bruised with smoke and godly fire, while the last warrior humanity fights with nothing but stubborn resolve. He's swinging against Tartarus, the literal god of destruction, a being so ancient and unstoppable he's wiped out worlds the way people wipe dust off a table. Every step Zephyr takes seems to crack under the weight of inevitability. But he keeps pushing, keeps striking, even as his body threatens to collapse. Yeah, this is one of those HR would definitely not approve this workload moments. The fight drags on until he finally sees it. The truth that he can't win. So instead, he chooses the one thing he can control. With a calmness that feels almost unreal, Zephyr gathers every last shred of strength and detonates himself in a blazing final act. The explosion rips through the wasteland, vaporizing everything in a flash of white. When the smoke settles, only one thing remains to mark his defiance: Tartarus' severed hand falling to the ground. It's the first wound the god has ever suffered in hundreds of worlds, and it came from a man who had nothing left but his fury. Zephyr's body burns away, turning to charcoal and ash, yet instead of the peaceful void of death, he opens his eyes to blinding radiance. The scene shifts into a place impossibly vast, soaked in divine gold, the realm of the gods themselves. These same gods who abandoned his world now lounge like bored nobles at a theater, having watched his struggle as if it were prime entertainment. They laugh, they whisper, they applaud the way he fought alone against destruction. And because his last stand amused them, they offer him something no mortal should ever receive: a second chance. Because apparently cosmic beings love reruns. They rewind his life 10 full years. Suddenly he's back inside the body of his younger self, weak, powerless, and shackled as a temple slave. The shock hits him hard. The air is colder here, thicker with dust and misery. All he is now is an overcrowded memory of the future, and one special blessing gifted by the angel Mercedes. He blinks, and the world sharpens around him. A pack of teenage slave bullies looms overhead, their cruel smiles carved into their faces. On the ground beside him, a scrawny boy curls up, trembling after a harsh beating. Zephyr spots the emblem on the bully's chest, and everything clicks into place. This is exactly the moment when his 20-year-old self refused to be used by the temple. The timeline is real. The regression is real. And he's back at the very bottom of the world he once died fighting to save. Before he can move, the supervisor storms in, shouting for the bullies to get back to work. They scatter, but not before throwing a warning at him, telling him not to try that brave act again. Zephyr doesn't even grant them a second glance. Compared to gods and world-ending monsters, they're nothing but noisy insects. He grabs a pickaxe to slip back into the rhythm of work, but just as he turns, a soft voice tugs at him. It's the trembling boy, whispering a shaky thanks. Zephyr studies him for a brief moment, try to recall his face from his memories. Nothing. So he moves on, mind already churning with far bigger concerns. Because now comes the moment he's been waiting for. He stops, breathes in, and activates the perks the angel promised him. Instantly, something erupts inside him, raw power flooding through every vein, igniting his senses and sharpening his thoughts. Zephyr's eyes widen as he realizes just how strong the spell is. And for the first time since waking up in this cursed past, he feels a spark of something he hasn't felt in years. Possibility. Yeah, this second life might get interesting. The day drags forward, and soon the mind echoes with the scrape of metal and the heavy rhythm of dozens of tired bodies. But amid the gloom, something strange happens. Zephyr starts working like a man possessed. His pickaxe moves in a blur, striking stone with flawless precision. In minutes, he fills bags that normally take others half an hour. The other slaves watch with wide eyes, jaws slack, silently realizing a horrifying truth. This newcomer has just raised the standard for everyone. Yeah, nobody likes the guy who makes the boss raise the quota. Meanwhile, Zephyr is still buzzing from earlier. When his perks awaken, a cascade of information slammed into his mind. Complicated instructions, spell mechanics, item descriptions, an entire personal library downloading straight into his skull. The shock nearly split his vision, but the pain evaporated as quickly as it came. leaving only exhilaration. Rare, high-level skills, powerful abilities, and all of them free. It felt like the heavens had handed him a cheat code. Lost in that flood of revelations, he doesn't notice the mining supervisor stomping toward him. The man mistakes Zephyr's momentary pause for laziness, a sin worse than treason in a mine like this. He starts yelling, spit flying, demanding the boy get back to work. Zephyr doesn't respond. The supervisor's temper spikes. With a snarl, he swings his whip, ready to teach the newcomer exactly how things work around here. But the strike never lands. Zephyr's hand moves faster than instinct, snapping up midair and catching the whip with effortless precision. No flinch, no fear, just calm control. The supervisor freezes, stunned silent, then blurts out a shaky apology. Zephyr returns a whip politely, as though handing someone back their drop pen, then goes right back to mining. Only afterward does he process what just happened, his reflexes, his awareness, his physical resilience. The whip didn't even scratch him. That's the effect of his first perk, a passive ability that nullifies minor physical damage. Hard to activate, sure, but incredibly handy. The hours pass in a blur. Zephyr feels no fatigue at all. By the end of the shift, he's collected 9 perks, each one a stepping stone back toward the strength he once wielded in a dying world. But before reclaiming any throne, he has a job to finish. Bag after bag, he fills them at an impossible rate. When the rankings are announced, the supervisor is practically speechless, awarding Zephyr's group first place. In the crowd, the small boy from earlier stares, as if witnessing a miracle. Only then does he realize he's on Zephyr's team, and that he's finally escaped last place. Zephyr glances back, equally surprised, sensing that fate has tied their paths together a second time. A hush falls over the bullies group as the head announces the remaining rankings. The bottom team receives less bread. Their rations shifted to the winners. With a stern voice, the head orders everyone to pray to the goddess Arya. At once, the slaves kneel. Zephyr joins them, though his expression remains thoughtful. Arya, one of the 3 supreme gods, the wealth goddess, the lender of fortunes and destroyer of debtors. Most of the people kneeling beside him were once adventurers or simple workers who fell into debt with her temple. The mark burned onto their skin ensures obedience. One escape attempt, and their heart simply stops. Talk about a loan policy that could use friendlier terms. Zephyr's new goal is clear. Repay his debt, break his chains, and walk out of here a free man. Only then can he pursue revenge against the demon lord and protect the woman he treasures above all, Alter. When evening settles, the slaves drift into the marketplace to unwind. The air buzzes with chatter, cheap lanterns flickering overhead. Zephyr browses quietly, but it doesn't take long to notice the pricing. Everything costs more than a starving man could ever afford. As he calculates silently, the small boy from before approaches him with hesitant courage. He offers to buy Zephyr a beer, his tiny way of thanking him for stepping in earlier. The boy admits their team always comes in last because bullies target one member to sabotage the entire group. Zephyr pieces together the strategy instantly. Weaken one link, sink the whole chain. Move but not wanting to burden the kid, Zephyr gently declines the offer. Instead, he steps toward the bar and asks for recovery water. This instantly raises eyebrows. The bartender warns him. Recovery water is pricey, and it barely works unless you drink a ton. But before Zephyr can respond, the boy places 1.5 gold coins on the counter, asking the rest to be lent as a loan. The kid goes pale the second he says it. More debt means more interest, and temple interest is the stuff nightmares are made of. But Zephyr waves off his concern. He believes, no, he knows, he can pay it back. He drinks the recovery water in one go. Normally, the stuff is a disappointment. Barely healing, barely energizing. But Zephyr holds a perk that multiplies potion effectiveness by 500%. With that kind of boost, even a single sip floods his body with strength, refreshing his endurance and nudging his mana upward. It's an opportunity too valuable to waste. Because no matter how hard he works in the mines, there's no bonus pay here. No chance to rise by effort alone. So Zephyr forms a plan. He's going to chug potions, train his body, and grow stronger in secret. And when he's confident enough, He'll approach the mine head with a fabricated story. Strange growls, ominous sounds, monsters lurking deep within the tunnels. Because where there are monsters, there are dungeons. And where there are dungeons, there's real money. Yeah, subtlety might not be a strong suit, but making cash definitely is. Monsters, Zephyr recalls, are born from twisted, corrupted mana, nature's way of spitting out creatures that hate humanity by default. For ages they were nightmares that only brought destruction, until people realized they were also gold mines with teeth. Mana stones, rare bones, strange organs. Everything inside them had value. Soon, the dens they lived in, once feared as death traps, were renamed dungeons and turned into the world's most dangerous business opportunity. Nothing says late-stage capitalism like monetizing things that want to eat you. These dungeons are handled by hunting teams, the temple's elite slaves chosen for their combat skill. High risk, high reward. They fight monsters, bring back materials, and earn bonuses that miners could only dream about. Naturally, Zephyr wonders why someone like him, a trained adventurer, was thrown into mining duty instead. The more he thinks on it, the more it smells like someone placed him there intentionally. His thoughts break when the shopkeeper clears his throat and announces that Zephyr has officially hit his borrowing limit. If he wants more money, he'll need to steal. Before he can respond, a priestess appears with the delicacy of a tax collector and offers an alternative. He can sell his organs. The temple buys fresh ones for research. She even hands him a neat little contract, promising the surgery can be canceled if he repays the loan in time. Everyone nearby freezes in horror. Zephyr does not. He accepts the papers, nods calmly, and asks for more recovery water. Some guys panic at debt. Others chug potions like they're prepping for a gym montage. The shopkeeper reluctantly hands over bottles, still warning him about the cost. Zephyr downs them all, his boosted potion perk, making each swallow feel like a surge of fresh power. His levels of stamina, mana, and overall condition finally reach what he needs for the next step. That's when a man steps forward. Goat, head of a recon team. He asks if Zephyr is the guide they were expecting. Zephyr nods, mentioning his talent for sensing mana across long distances. The ability makes him invaluable, especially for scouting pitch-black corridors where a torch could attract every creature alive. Goat sighs in relief. No need for night vision potions. Zephyr is handed gear and instructed to follow. As they walk, one of the members, Dale, eyes him curiously. Something about Zephyr's composure stands out. Goat quickly shuts down the chatter, but Zephyr quietly studies the group himself. Two faces are new. One he recognizes, a man who, in Zephyr's first life, only joined the hunting team after this dungeon was cleared, which can only mean one thing. Two members of this group are fated to die in the next few hours. Zephyr files that away, already calculating how to use that knowledge. The team soon arrives at the dungeon entrance, where a young boy greets them and fastens a thin magical thread around each of their wrists. The threads are linked. If one breaks, the main base will know instantly that someone has fallen. It's only a scouting mission, but the boy still urges caution. Inside, the air changes, damp, metallic, and buzzing with faint monster breath. Two torch-bearing creatures shuffle forward, distracted by falling stones. In a flash, Goat and Dale ambush them, ending the fight as quickly as it started. Zephyr quietly notes that recon teams must be more than scouts. They must survive alone, fight alone, and get out alive to deliver intel. Once they report back, stronger strike, squads usually come in to clear the place. But sometimes, recon units handle it all themselves if the dungeon seems manageable. Goat inspects the corpses and guesses these monsters are stragglers from an old skirmish deeper in the mine. Dale agrees these were likely the last two survivors. But Zephyr knows something they don't. The recon team is competent, but this dungeon isn't as empty as Goat thinks. While the others move ahead, Goat proposes handling the rest alone. Dale hesitates, pointing out that Zephyr, reduced to carrying supplies, barely counts as a fighter. Before arguments escalate, Marco cuts in, suggesting Goat share whatever plan he has. Goat smirks, then tells Zephyr to open his bag. Inside lies a collection of moonbush berries and leaves, rare plants that, when mixed with certain monster waste, emit a scent identical to a female cobalt in heat. Creatures smell it from miles away. They set the trap. The lure works almost too well. A cobalt charges in, frenzied and desperate, and Goat's men take it out instantly. Praise showers over Goat as he basks in the glory, his men applauding his new genius. But of course, none of them realize the tactic was Zephyr's invention. In Zephyr's first life, after joining the hunting team, he served under Goat, an ambitious man desperate for fame, but cursed with terrible luck. Knowing this, Zephyr had approached him earlier, lying that he'd scouted ahead and found the dungeon almost empty. He offered Goat a strategy that sounded profitable. Clear the dungeon alone, keep all rewards, and take full credit. He also gifted the moonbush materials, valuable items Goat couldn't resist. And Goat wasn't stupid. He knew a single recommendation from him could secure Zephyr's spot on the hunting team. The boy seemed to be trying to earn exactly that. So he agreed, tempted by the promise of success that always seemed just out of reach. Back in the present, Goat finishes off another cobalt, though the weak mana stones leave him unimpressed. Zephyr, sensing the path ahead, signals that the way is clear, but then Dale freezes. Bones scattered across the ground. Cobalt bones. But the arrangement is too orderly, too intentional, too much like bait. Before he can warn the others, something erupts from the darkness. A massive hand bursts out of the cave, grabs Dale, and hurls him against the wall with bone-crushing force. Marco reacts instantly, flooding his hammer with mana. On the outside, he looks steady. Inside, he's terrified of whatever nightmare lurks inside that tunnel. He activates his mana shield, bragging about its strength. He doesn't even finish the sentence. A colossal tail whips out at lightning speed and sends him flying. The impact makes Goat's blood run cold, especially after seeing the creature's silhouette. A second later, the tail smashes into him too. Outside, the boy monitoring the magical threads jolts awake as three snap at once. Panic shoots through him. They are in serious trouble. Inside the dungeon, Goat still clings to life, his shoulder mangled. Zephyr stands in front of him, shielding him. He uses Wall of Iron perk to block most of the strike, but the fact that Goat was still injured shows just how monstrous their opponent is. And then the shadow steps forward. The creature emerges, towering and feral, holding Zephyr's teammates limp in its claws. Its presence alone twists the air, radiating hunger and cruel intelligence. Zephyr recognizes it instantly. A breeder, a monster that raises other monsters, shelters them, fattens them, then eats them the moment it reaches maturity. An apex predator. Without hesitation, Zephyr snatches Goat's spear. He activates his third perk, energy gathering in his palm, glowing white-hot with potential. He grins wildly, eyes locked on the monster, and with a spark of exhilaration, he asks it the most Zephyr question imaginable. All right, then, which party wants to die first? Zephyr calls on his silver key, a perk that works like a personal pocket dimension, weightless storage, infinite convenience. From the shimmering space, he retrieves a strip of cloth and a bundle of dragon weed. Goat watches from the ground, confused and half-dizzy, unable to tell whether the boy is preparing for a fight or a strange herbal ritual. But Zephyr's movements are steady, confident. He wraps the cloth tight around his hand, grips the spear, and steps forward with the calm focus of someone who's died before and refuses to repeat the experience. Some people meditate before battle. Zephyr just upgrades his loadout like he's speedrunning life. Before Goat can push himself up, the monster bellows. The roar crashes into the cavern like a wave of pure terror. It's not just sound, it's a skill, a spell, fear. Goat's knees lock. His breath stops. His muscles freeze as if someone poured ice inside his bones. A memory slams into him. The old soldier he once trained with, describing how an entire village stood motionless, unable even to blink, waiting for a fully grown monster to rip through them one by one. And now, Goat is living that nightmare. Everyone is frozen. It shatters the paralysis effect completely. Goat watches in awe as Zephyr slips under claws, pivots around fangs, and counters the beast's movements like a dancer with a death wish. But raw agility isn't enough. Zephyr only has one offensive perk, and its mana cost is way too heavy to use right now. Instead, he pulls out a poison vial crafted by someone precious from his first life. Fade, a man who spent his whole life creating potions, elixirs, toxins, pouring decades into perfecting every drop before the world ended. Fade handed everything he'd made to Zephyr, insisting someone should use them to save lives. Even if it was just a few, the memory steals Zephyr's resolve. He coats the spear in Fade's venom and drives it deep into the monster's hide. Then he slashes one of its arms open with a swift follow-up. He knows exactly how the poison works. It dissolves organs from the inside, speeding through the bloodstream until the monster's body collapses from internal ruin. 3 minutes. That's all it needs. All Zephyr has to do is survive. He barely gets the chance to reposition. The monster's tail swings, smashing into him like a battering ram and hurling him into the stone wall. Pain shoots across his ribs, but he forces himself up just in time to see the creature charging, jaws wide enough to swallow him whole. Zephyr reacts without thinking. He grabs the last vial of poison and throws it straight into the monster's open mouth. The glass shatters, liquid splashing across its tongue and throat. Before it can recoil, Zephyr slashes across its face, carving into flesh and flinging venom deeper into the wound. The monster screams, raw, furious agony. Only 1 minute left before the poison finishes its job. Zephyr knows he can't dodge forever. His stamina is running thin. The cavern is tight. One mistake, and he's done. The monster swings again. This time, Zephyr grabs the tail. With a grunt of effort, he holds on as it lifts him high, straight above the monster's skull. The second he's within range, he leaps and drives the spear right into its eye. The weapon's shaft snaps from the impact. Zephyr doesn't hesitate. He grabs a broken end in his knife, stabbing both repeatedly into the ruined socket. The monster convulses, thrashing wildly. Zephyr clings to the embedded blade, refusing to let go. It's weak. It's blinded. It's almost done, but it needs one final blow. He climbs atop its head again. Thanks to the recovery water and his 500% potion perk, his mana surges back like a rising tide. He gathers every ounce of power into his fist, shaping it into a condensed, devastating strike. And then he brings it down. The punch lands with explosive force, like a meteor crashing through bone. The monster collapses beneath him, shaking the entire cavern. But he also remembers something important. Zephyr only got into this dungeon because Goat brought him. Without that recommendation, the boy wouldn't even be here. As the dust settles and the monster finally stops moving, Zephyr stands tall, calm, confident, radiating the authority of someone who just defied death. He turns to Goat and asks to speak with him privately. Yeah, when the guy who just punched a monster to death says he wants a word, you listen. Deep in the jungle, far from temples, dungeon, and civilization, a blond man collapses in the dirt, blood mixing with the soil beneath him. He's surrounded by a squad of men who look like they crawled straight out of the underworld. Desperate and shaking, he swears he isn't a follower of the demon lord. But the man leading the group, a cold-eyed figure with a cross carved into his forehead, gives a simple hand signal. The buff fighter beside him obeys instantly. One sickening crunch later, the blond man's skull caves in. But the nightmare doesn't end there. The corpse twitches, jerks, then splits as a long, black centipede crawls out of the dead man's throat. The cross-marked leader reacts without blinking. His blade flashes, slicing the creature clean in half. He lifts the twitching pieces and declares what they all feared. The centipede bears the demon lord's mark. Their suspect was a spy after all. He brings the evidence back to his superior, Matthias. But Matthias is unimpressed. 7 squad members were lost on this mission. Was confirming one infiltrator really worth the cost? The marked man doesn't back down. The temple's major raid is only a month away. He argues, if spies remain, everything could collapse before it even begins. Matthias finally relents. He'll speak to the hunting squad to smooth things over. But he warns the marked man not to embarrass him again. Goat, now fully convinced that Zephyr is a walking gold mine, submits a recommendation for the boy to join the hunting squad. The priestess overseeing transfers approves it. though she notes that if Zephyr fails, the blame falls squarely on the recommending team. Goat accepts the risk without hesitation. If Zephyr performs well, he gets the credit. Promotion territory. As he walks away, Goat's mind drifts back to the dungeon, to the moment Zephyr, standing casually in a cave littered with slain monsters, asked him to forget everything. Forget the fight. Forget the creature. Forget the impossible power he just witnessed. Instead, Zephyr said they'd leave only the cobalt corpses, so Goat would have something to report. The real prize, the giant monster's body, was something Zephyr planned to keep. Technically, temple slaves can't keep loot. Everything belongs to the temple. So Zephyr made sure the temple would never know. Goat remembered laughing bitterly, saying it was impossible. A standby unit waited outside specifically to prevent theft. And even if they slipped past them, a cleanup squad would sweep the dungeon later. But Zephyr only smiled and used his inventory perk. With a simple gesture, the monster's massive corpse vanished into thin air. No blood trail, no remains, no evidence, just a gaping empty space where a beast once lay. Goat's jaw nearly hit the floor. That's when Zephyr made his offer. He'd clear 3 more dungeon for Goat. Goat would collect the credit, and Zephyr would pocket the loot. All Goat had to do was stay quiet. Back in the present, Goat is strongly considering it. Zephyr's talent could launch him to the top. Faster promotions, bigger missions, maybe even command. Recon units get first access to new dungeons. Clearing them with a small team would make him look like a tactical genius. Meanwhile, Zephyr has a much simpler objective. Sell the monster corpse. Pay off his debts. Leave the temple behind forever. But then a memory hits him. The temple knights will soon depart for a massive raid. And during that raid, they'll find a rare item. A powerful one. If he can join that raid, he might finally find a key to his freedom. His registration completes. He is now officially a member of the squad. As they head out, Zephyr recalls that in his past life, he joined only after the raid participant list was announced. The temple chooses 20 members based strictly on brilliance or connections. This time, Zephyr will make sure he's on that list. They eventually reach the armory, where Goat shows Zephyr around before leaving to check on his recovering teammates. But as Goat speaks, tension suddenly thickens in the air. The same shadowy group from the forest arrives. Instantly, Goat lowers his head and whispers for Zephyr to do the same. Everyone nearby bows in silence. The men walk with chilling aura, unyielding, merciless. As they pass Zephyr, the cross-marked leader stiffens. Something about the boy catches his attention, though he continues walking without a word. Only after they're gone does Goat exhale. Those men, he explains, are inquisitors, temple-sanctioned executioners, agents who can brand anyone a heretic and kill them without consequence. And their leader, Sahawk, known as the Mad Hound, is infamous for enjoying the act of killing. Yeah, HR definitely skipped background checks on that one. But before Goat can finish the warning, Sahawk suddenly appears behind them and calls out. Goat nearly faints. The Mad Hound walks up, points straight at Zephyr, and dismissively refers to him as a minor. He throws off his cape, exposes his full presence, and demands to know Zephyr's position. Goat tries to step in. Sahawk shuts him down instantly. Killing intent pours off the Inquisitor like heat from a forge. Goat trembles under it, but Zephyr remains calm, too calm. And that composure catches Sahawk's eye. A minor this poised, a slave this unflinching, someone this strong being sent to the mines makes no sense. There's an aptitude test meant to identify talented recruits early. So why was this boy overlooked? Something isn't adding up. Sahawk signals his men. They form a circle around Zephyr, weapons ready. The air tightens, suffocating and heavy. Sahawk steps forward. He demands answers. Warns that lies won't be tolerated. Accuses Zephyr of something far more dangerous. He claims the boy is a follower of the Demon Lord. And Zephyr almost smiles. Because this accusation, this confrontation, this circle of hostile inquisitors, it's exactly the opening he needed. Yeah, sometimes getting cornered is just another way of finding the perfect angle. Sahawk's accusation drags Zephyr's mind straight into the past, into the blood-soaked memories of the Great War, where the Demon Lord's followers betrayed humanity and shattered entire kingdoms. He remembers how those fanatics clawed their way into temples, guilds, families, poisoning everything from the inside until civilization buckled. Today, most low-ranking soldiers only know them as a dangerous cult. But Zephyr? He's seen what they truly are, terrors that wear human skin. While he's lost in that grim recollection, Sahawk steps forward and reveals something unexpected. He has a gift, a sixth sense capable of sniffing out Demon Lord followers. And right now, that instinct is screaming that Zephyr is one of them. The Madhound's expression darkens as he formally begins the interrogation. Heavy atmosphere, eyes locked, killing aura already rising. But Zephyr remains perfectly calm. He suggests, politely even, that they move somewhere private. Sahawk blinks, thrown off. Then Zephyr adds, with quiet confidence, that it would be awkward when he starts beating the ditty out of him in public. Translation: Zephyr is basically threatening an inquisitor on company property. HR would be thrilled. Sahawk seethes but maintains his composure. There's no universe in which a mere minor could defeat him. With a sharp gesture, he and his squad trigger their battlefield technique. A massive triangular barrier erupts around Zephyr, the red field. Inside this dimension-like arena, Sahawk's stats skyrocket. His speed, strength, reflexes all amplified. Zephyr doesn't panic. Instead, he shifts his stance into something strange, fluid, almost alien. The form is so unfamiliar that even Sahawk hesitates for a breath before charging. Then the Madhound explodes forward, blur fast, knife flashing in rapid arcs. But Zephyr moves like the laws of physics don't apply to him. He slips between each slash by hair's breadths, countering with precise strikes that land exactly where Sahawk doesn't expect. Frustrated, Sahawk dives low for a tackle and instantly regrets it. His legs crash against Zephyr's shins like he's ramming into solid iron. Shock floods his eyes. That single moment of hesitation is all Zephyr needs. He unleashes a barrage of punches, clean, brutal, and rapid fire. Sahawk collapses, unconscious or close enough to it. But Zephyr doesn't even get a second to breathe. A massive spiked mace hurtles from behind him. He blocks just in time, but the impact skids him backward across the ground. The tank of the group steps forward, chains rattling, muscles bulging, face twisted with rage. Zephyr cracks a mocking remark, which hits the man's pride like a slap. Enraged, the tank swings his mace, so hard it shatters the pavement, sending fragments flying like shrapnel. Goat, still watching from the sidelines, can't believe what he's seeing. Zephyr's martial arts are unlike anything he's ever witnessed. Smooth, elusive, and terrifyingly efficient. For a moment, Goat dares to hope. If Zephyr wrecks the entire Inquisitor squad, maybe his own involvement will be swept under the rug. But that hope evaporates when someone nearby whispers that the red field has been active for 5 minutes. And the longer it's active, the stronger Sahawk's squad becomes. Zephyr feels it immediately. The tank's blows get heavier, faster, more coordinated. Zephyr starts slipping by narrower margins. Then Sahawk reappears, not unconscious at all, not finished, and very, very angry. He slashes Zephyr's back in surprise strike, his killing intent now blindingly sharp. In a frenzy, he blitzes around the arena, becoming streaks of motion. His blades carve through the air, slicing at Zephyr from every direction. For a moment, it looks like Sahawk has turned the tide. He gathers his strength for a devastating finishing blow. But Zephyr catches him. Barely. Perfectly. He grips Sahawk's head and drives it into the ground with a thunderous crack. Before the man can inhale, Zephyr slams his knee into him again, folding the Inquisitor like a cheap tent. Even boosted by the red field, Sahawk realizes none of it matters. He cannot beat this boy. Zephyr crouches beside him and critiques him casually, telling him that if he really wanted to show off his speed, he should have let the tank tire him out first. The comment burns like acid. The tank charges, chains whipping out to bind Zephyr's arms. He restrains the boy, muscles bulging as he tries to overpower him. But Zephyr doesn't yield. Instead, he taunts him now, asking if he's too scared for close combat. Then Zephyr channels mana into his limbs. activating power boost, a basic enhancement spell amplified massively by his perks. He yanks. The chains rip straight out of the tank's hands, sending the man flying into a wall hard enough to crack stone. Silence floods the field. Everyone stares. On the ground, Sahawk starts crawling toward Zephyr, broken, confused, desperate, asking what he is. But Zephyr just smirks and walks away. He reminds Sahawk that interrogation is literally his job, not Zephyr's. And as the red field dissolves, someone else notices the devastation. A red-haired man watches from a nearby window, expression unreadable, eyes narrowed with interest. Zephyr's strength, his poise, his terrifying calm, they all raise a chilling possibility. He quietly wonders, did our master send that boy? Because whatever Zephyr is, he isn't normal, and the temple has no idea what kind of storm just walked into their ranks. The crowd is buzzing, wide-eyed, slack-jawed, whispering like they just witnessed a miracle or a crime scene. Sahawk, the infamous Mad Hound, the Inquisitor no one even breathes near, taken down by a rookie, a minor, people can't process it. Sahawk, on the other hand, absolutely can, and he hates it. Beaten into the dirt, humiliated in public. He screams after Zephyr as the boy casually walks away. But Zephyr barely glances back. He's relieved. Phase 1 of his plan is complete. Now, all he needs is for a certain someone to hear about the fight. But as he heads off, something strange ripples through him. His body trembles. His vision flickers. His muscles seize. Mana freeze. The moment your mana hits 0, your body shuts down like a dying candle. Zephyr realizes the power boost he used pushed him way past his limits. His body isn't strong enough yet. Not even close. He collapses, helpless, cursing how fragile this version of himself still is. Then the sky flickers. Colors warp. Shapes bend. A colossal figure emerges above him, massive, otherworldly, and carrying the suffocating aura of divine bureaucracy. It introduces itself as Spirit Shillik, agent of Usura, the god of debt. Zephyr's blood runs cold. Shillik announces it's here to collect the damage debt from the Wall of Iron spell he used earlier. Zephyr instantly understands the danger. Wall of Iron is powerful, yes, but when a user's mana runs dry, every ounce of accumulated damage crashes down at once. Many adventurers died praying it wouldn't happen to them. The god of debt thrives on that despair. As Zephyr lies unable to move, Shillik begins calculating the total damage he should have taken, preparing to deliver the lethal accumulated blow. Zephyr can only watch the countdown, powerless to stop it. He strains to move, to roll, to crawl. Nothing responds. With seconds left, he tears the wraps off his hand. Hidden underneath is a recovery potion, with the last sliver of strength he has. He drinks it. A single point of mana returns to him, just enough to break the rule. Wall of Iron only kills you if your mana hits 0. His mana is no longer 0. Shillik freezes mid-strike, then disappears with a sharp crack. Threat neutralized. Barely. Zephyr gasps in relief. Then he smirks at the sky, mocking Usura for underestimating him. Surviving by a single mana point is basically his hobby. He remembers Wall of Iron from his first life, a purple tier skill worth 500 gold. Something he could never afford. The gods gave it to him for free this time, just because they thought watching him struggle it would be entertaining. So Zephyr flips them off. Politely, of course. Somewhere in the heavens, Usura screams. Later, Zephyr wakes to a much less divine nightmare. He's tied to a bed. A priestess stands beside him, serene as a nun at a tea party. 2 bulky men stand behind her with torture tools. Zephyr's eyes widen. The priestess calmly explains that he's in their workshop because a loan he took in the shop expired an hour ago. Her voice stays calm, even gentle, until she pulls out a very large knife. She lists his sins with cheerful precision. He took multiple loans. He gave collateral he couldn't repay. He skipped every interest payment. He clearly never intended to pay anything back. The knife hovers inches from his face. Zephyr realizes something chilling. He can't use mana. If he does, Shillik will return instantly. So he must talk his way out. He begs. He negotiates. He promises repayment next week, next month, Next century, whatever works. She doesn't buy a word. She announces they'll garnish his salary, but he still owes the shop loan with massive interest. Then she'd give the order. One of the men grabs Zephyr's arm. They'll take just one finger today. The knife rises. The executioner swings. Zephyr panics and blurts out something. Something so shocking, so impossible, so forbidden that the priestess freezes mid-command. Her face drains a color. Her eyes widen. She screams for the men to stop. Both executioners halt, trembling, staring at Zephyr in disbelief as if he just revealed the temple's most dangerous secret. Whatever he said, it changes everything. And judging by the priestess's sudden meltdown, it's about to blow this entire department apart. The priestess's face goes pale, dead pale, the moment Zephyr speaks that forbidden name. She snaps, ordering her two enforcers out immediately. They obey without question, leaving the room in terrified silence. When the door shuts, she turns back to Zephyr with trembling fury. How does this child know that name? But Zephyr pushes further, voice low, calm, cutting straight through her composure. He calls her by her hidden title. White Rose, monster breaker, broker of forbidden goods, underworld dealer. Her eyes widen. Her breath catches. This sweet-faced priestess, this calm temple official, is secretly one of the most dangerous contraband traders in the criminal world. Zephyr smirks. He already knows her entire operation, and more importantly, he knows exactly how to use her. He thanks her for bringing him to her workshop and reveals he's not here to argue or beg. He's here with a business proposal. Yeah, Zephyr's version of debt repayment is basically starting a crime partnership. Meanwhile, in another room, Sahawk, the once feared inquisitor, finally wakes. The pain hits first, then the humiliation. A boy beat him senseless in front of everyone. Consumed by rage, he swears vengeance. The next time they meet, he'll put Zephyr in the ground. His tantrum draws attention, and the red-haired man, calm, cold, and authoritative, steps into view. Sahawk freezes. This is no ordinary superior. This is someone he fears. Forced smile, bow of respect, shaking voice. The red-haired man sends the healers away, casually mentioning that he heard about today's fight. Sahawk tries to apologize, tries to justify himself, but he's too slow. The man jabs a knife into Sahawk's mouth. Not enough to kill, enough to silence. He leans in, voice dripping disappointment and venom. Sahawk failed Matthias. He embarrassed the Inquisitors. He lost 7 members earlier this month. And in 6 months, he's only eliminated 2 demon lord worshippers. Then, as if to twist a knife deeper, he says a quiet part aloud. Losing to a mere child dragged Matthias's name through filth. Sahawk drops to his knees in pure terror. He begs, sobbing, pleading for another chance. Anything. And the red-haired man gives him one. A single task. Kill the boy. Kill Zephyr. Or lose your red uniform forever. That uniform is Sahawk's entire identity. Without it, he'll return to the slave pits, the same pits he once executed countless people in. No mercy awaits him there. The red-haired man tosses a glowing purple orb onto the floor. It pulses with corrupted mana. Sahawk recognizes it instantly. A demon lord follower's artifact. Taking it is treason. Using it is suicide. Refusing it means losing everything. Sahawk stares, trembling. Then desperation wins. He grabs the orb with shaking hands, laughing like a man already halfway insane. The corruption begins to seep into him as the red-haired man smiles in satisfaction. This is exactly what he wanted. He orders a subordinate to keep a close watch. Sahawk, now a frantic, corrupted tool, will draw attention, pulling eyes away from the temple's leadership. Because while Sahawk causes chaos, Ned Streer, the red-haired imposter, plans to assassinate the head of the Temple Knights, intercept a rare raid artifact, and install a demon lord disciple at the heart of the temple. He's infiltrated their ranks for years. The final act begins, but something bothers him. Today he recognized Zephyr's fighting technique, a style known only to their master and a handful of disciples. So who taught this boy? Was he sent as backup? As competition? As judgment, Ned orders an investigation. If Zephyr is useful, they'll recruit him. If he's a threat, Ned will eliminate him himself. Back in the priestess's workshop, the tension fades into shock as Zephyr pulls the Predator-class monster corpse out of his silver key storage. The enormous beast, rare, valuable, and pristine, appears before her like a treasure hauled from legend. She can't help but admire it despite herself. But Zephyr's demands? They're outrageous. He lists the items he wants: equipment, materials, high-tier supplies, worth 5,000 gold, the equivalent value of 3 Predator-class corpses. She's stunned, but Zephyr leans forward, utterly confident. He promises her all 3 within 3 weeks. And then he pauses. A final, quiet smile, because there's one more favor he needs from White Rose. One that will set his next move into motion and pull him even deeper into the shadows of the temple. And judging by her expression, she has no idea how much bigger this game is about to get. Zephyr recovers just enough to rejoin the squad for what Goat hopes will be a light, team-bonding evening. He tries to set the tone, clearing his throat as he reintroduces everyone. But something's off. No one eats. No one speaks. Even the air feels tense, like everyone's waiting for someone else to ignite the room. Zephyr notices instantly, so he reaches into his inventory and casually places a luxury bottle of wine on the table, a high-end vintage, the type of bottle temple slaves don't even see, let alone drink. That gets their attention. He pours each person a glass and simply says it's a gift from White Rose. Zephyr smirks internally. Winning trust? Easy. Just give people something expensive and watch loyalty appear out of thin air. Friendship is basically bribery with extra steps. But beneath the surface, he's analyzing everything. He remembers Marco and Dale from his past life. They didn't survive long back then, which means they never became anyone noteworthy. Their presence now introduces variables he can't ignore. For now, he'll work with them. If necessary, he'll remove them. Discreetly, Goat outlines their next assignment. Success could earn them a rank up, meaning more authority, better gear, and access to bigger dungeons. He emphasizes unity. Zephyr is now part of the team, so treat him like one. Dale immediately bristles. He hates that Goat made decisions behind their backs. Worse, he doubts Zephyr entirely. He challenges whether Zephyr actually killed a predator or if Goat dreamed it up. Insulting Goat is one thing. Implying Zephyr is a fraud? That touches a nerve. Voices rise. Chairs scrape. The tension spikes. Until Marco steps between them and mutters the magic words. The reward splits evenly either way. Silence. Money. Humanity's universal peace treaty. Dale stops arguing, but his eyes tell a different story. Inside, he rejects Zephyr completely, and he quietly decides. If this kid is lying, Dale will expose him inside the dungeon. Their journey takes them to Eterin, a massive settlement carved into the mountainside. Homes, halls, recovery rooms, once lively with adventurers, now wither in the grip of abandonment. Dust coats the floors like frost. Silence stretches through the old stone corridors. But deeper in, the ruins change. Spiderwebs blanket the walls, thick, metallic strands glistening like spun silver. Steel spiders, the kind of creatures that make grown adventurers cry quietly into their helmets. Zephyr activates mana perception, letting him sense every magical life form around them without making contact. He maneuvers the team to the maze of webs with surgical precision. Once outside the web tunnels, he announces what he sensed. A steel spider, a mother, and an entire nest of spiderlings. He explains a plan. Slip in quietly. Paralyze the babies. Let the mother return to her slaughtered brood. Kill her while she's reckless with rage. Dale cuts him off immediately. Steel spiders are walking nightmares. Shells harder than iron. Webs that trap even elite warriors. Swarms that multiply like plagues. And in their nest? Pure suicide. He demands reinforcements. Zephyr simply tells him to relax. He'll clear the nest alone. Dale's suspicion spikes. This boy claims he killed a predator, humiliated Sahawk, and can solo a steel spider? To Dale, there's only one explanation. Zephyr is lying, and this dungeon is harmless. Following him inside is the perfect chance to expose him. Reality hits hard. They move deeper. Dale, irritated, brushes his hand against a web strand. Instantly, he's stuck. Before he even realizes what's happening, a wave of spiderlings bursts out of the darkness. Hundreds of tiny bodies swarming forward, moving with horrifying precision. Dale freezes in raw terror. Zephyr doesn't. He grabs Dale's arm, yanks him free, and steps directly in front of the incoming tide. Spiderlings leap at his arm, biting, clawing, sinking tiny mandibles into his skin. The swarm crawls up his forearm, gnawing viciously. Zephyr doesn't flinch. He stands firm, shielding the teammate who doubted him the most. He glances back at Dale, voice calm and low. Told you this place wasn't harmless. And for the first time, Dale realizes this boy might actually be everything he claims T. The spiderlings bite down hard, hundreds of tiny mandibles clicking against Zephyr's arm. And nothing happens. Their fangs bounce off like they're trying to chew through steel plating. Zephyr glances down, unimpressed, and mutters, "Nice try." Then, with one sweeping motion, he smashes the entire crawling mass against the floor. Dale's breath catches. This isn't strength. This isn't talent. This is something else entirely. Zephyr snaps back into command mode. Formation, move. They follow instantly. Zephyr had already warned them to wrap their weapons with their capes. Otherwise, the steel spider's webs would glue their blades solid in seconds. With the fabric insulation, their strikes remain smooth and lethal. Dale and Goat work together, driving the spiderlings into a tight cluster. And that's when Zephyr steps in. His arm blurs once, just once. An entire swarm erupts into dust and twitching fragments. Silence ripples through the nest. When it ends, Dale winces at the deep cut across his arm. He tries to hide it, but Zephyr notices immediately and hands him a recovery potion. Without even being asked, Dale stares at the bottle. How did he know? Then it clicks. Zephyr's mana perception. He sensed the moment Dale's skin split, the flash of panic, the spike of pain. Dale lowers his head. "I messed up," he mutters, embarrassed. Zephyr simply nods. "Just don't repeat it." No lecture. No arrogance. Just calm guidance. For the first time, Dale sees the boy as something more than a threat. And for the first time, Zephyr sees something promising in Dale. In his past life, he trained people who didn't even know which end of a sword pointed forward. Dale at least has discipline. Doubts can be fixed. Skill can be refined. And trust? That's forged one dungeon at a time. Into the heart of the nest. They descend deeper, webs thickening like veins across the walls. In the nest's core, Zephyr unleashes a paralyzing potion, its fumes sweeping across the chamber. Instantly, the spiderlings freeze in place. Even Dale can't hide his awe. Then comes the real fight. Steel spiders, full-grown and furious, descend from every direction. Zephyr barks instructions. Aim for the belly. That's the weak point. Dale tests it cautiously, driving his blade upward. The shell cracks open cleanly. He freezes again, not from fear, but shock. Zephyr hasn't been guessing. He knows the species inside out. Meanwhile, Marco cheers over his own kill. Until he looks up. Zephyr has already wiped out hundreds. He's standing on a mountain, a literal pile of steel spider corpses. He hops down casually, dusts his palms together, and says, "Take 5. The man treats mass extermination like it's his pre-workout stretch. Marco tries to process the physics of whatever he just saw. Dale looks like he's questioning his entire worldview. Goat seems ready to retire. But Zephyr's expression shifts, hardening for just a moment. A memory flashes through his mind. A dark cave, a shadowed figure, a mentor who broke him down and rebuilt him into something terrifying. His jaw tightens. "Not now. Focus. Only the boss room left," he says. The group straightens immediately, adrenaline rushing back. Zephyr plucks a spider leg from a corpse and twirls it casually, inspecting it like he's choosing a toothpick. Then, with complete seriousness, he looks at the team and says, "Head out. I'll finish the rest alone." The group freezes. Marco's jaw drops. Dale forgets to breathe. Goat looks like a lost soul floating above his own body. And Zephyr? He just stands there, completely calm, as if soloing the dungeon's final boss is nothing more than another warm-up set. Go, unlike the others, isn't as ambitious, especially compared to Dale. He's content just surviving, even if it means always taking the safe route and obeying those in power. This cautious nature has allowed him to stay alive this long. So, when Zephyr orders him to leave, Go immediately agrees, believing it's the smartest decision. He thinks their presence would only slow Zephyr down. His mindset is simple. Keep your head down, follow the orders, and stay alive. But Marco insists on staying, reasoning that they're so close to the end now. They've already come this far, and backing out now would be a waste of the progress they've made. This decision deeply unsettles Go, as the stakes are higher than ever. His anxiety spikes even further when Dale, typically the one to side with caution, backs Marco's reasoning. Dale argues that having more people would increase their chances against the monster they are about to face. Go's nerves on edge, his heart pounding in his chest, as he silently prays that Zephyr will order them to leave. But to his shock, Zephyr doesn't send them away. Instead, Zephyr assigns them new roles, the seriousness in his voice leaving no room for debate. Without further explanation, Zephyr strides confidently into the heart of the dungeon, his every step exuding the kind of confidence that only comes with experience and countless battles. As Zephyr moves deeper into the dungeon, Go watches from the sidelines, his stomach in knots, silently hoping he's made the right decision. Soon, Zephyr finds himself standing before the queen spider's spawning chambers, the heart of the dungeon's deadly labyrinth. The chamber is massive, lined with thick, sticky webs that stretch across the walls and ceilings, a perfect defense against any intruders. The queen spider, a massive and terrifying creature, rules over the chamber, her many guardians positioned around her in a near-perfect formation. They wait, poised and ready to strike at anything that crosses their path. He's dealt with these creatures before, and he understands their patterns. The moment the spiders start to stir, he doesn't flinch. Instead, he calmly reaches into his bag and pulls out several bags of plain flour. Without hesitation, he throws them toward the webs, the bags bursting open on impact. A cloud of fine flour particles explodes into the air, blinding the spiders momentarily as they struggle to see through the thick haze. With the spiders temporarily disoriented, Zephyr takes advantage of the chaos, swiftly raising his crossbow. He takes a steady breath and fires a shot aimed directly at the queen. The bolt strikes her with a spark, not enough to cause any significant harm, but enough to trigger a chain reaction. The fine flour particles catch fire instantly, and an enormous dust explosion rocks the entire chamber, sending shock waves through the air. The flames roar, consuming everything in their path, the heat palpable even from a distance. But Zephyr doesn't stay to watch the carnage. He knows that the explosion alone won't be enough to take out the spiders, especially not the queen. As the dust settles, he bolts, running as fast as he can, knowing that time is of the essence. His heart races as he hears the scurrying of the spiders behind him. A few guardians, their instincts sharp, pursue him, closing the distance quickly. Without breaking his stride, Zephyr pulls out his poison-tipped arrows, each one designed to strike hard and fast. He fires one arrow behind him, hitting the nearest spider squarely in the chest. The spider screeches in agony before collapsing to the ground, lifeless. But there's no time to celebrate. Another guardian, even faster and more determined, charges after him, its fangs bared and ready to strike. Zephyr's mind races as he quickly surveys the area. He rounds a corner and stops abruptly, his instincts kicking in. He had earlier instructed his team to use spiderweb sacks, which they had collected along the way, to set traps at strategic locations throughout the dungeon. Go had questioned the plan earlier, wondering aloud if these webs would actually be effective against the spiders. Zephyr had explained, with a calm assurance, that without the special liquid the spiders produce, their bodies get stuck in their own webs. The team had prepared the webs with this knowledge in mind, planning to use them as traps against the overwhelming numbers of spiders they would inevitably face. Now, with the explosion having evaporated the spider's protective liquid, the pursuing guardian is caught in the web. Zephyr doesn't hesitate. He draws a pair of razor-sharp spider claws from his belt and slashes down at the trapped creature. The claws cut through the webbing with ease, and within moments, the spider is dead, its body lifeless in the thick, sticky strands. The immediate danger is over, but Zephyr knows there's still more to come. Only one guardian remains, and it's the queen herself. Enraged by the destruction and the loss of her guardians, the queen screeches from the depths of the chamber. Her massive, terrifying form emerges from the shadows, her many eyes glowing with fury as she barrels toward Zephyr. Zephyr doesn't waste a second. He sprints toward the exit, his legs moving faster than they ever have before. The queen follows close behind, her legs clicking against the stone floor with a terrifying rhythm. As Zephyr nears the cave's entrance, the queen launches a deadly stream of highly poisonous acid at him, the spray hissing as it hits the ground around him. He ducks and weaves, narrowly avoiding the toxic barrage, but he knows the showdown is far from over. Zephyr reaches the entrance, his heart pounding in his chest. Knowing that escaping the queen's wrath will be no easy feat, the chamber shakes, the sound of the queen's furious pursuit growing louder with every step.
And that's a wrap for today's recap, but trust me, there's so much more to come. The next chapters are packed with even more twists, and I can't wait to dive into them with you. Comment below if you want part 2. Your thoughts mean everything, and we'll make it happen together. If you're enjoying the journey, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated. We're pouring our heart into every video, improving day by day to give you the best experience. Your support really helps, and a like makes sure this video reaches more people. Let's grow this community together. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.